Hello everyone, here we are in Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. It's the third time that the DTM is here racing and we're absolutely thrilled you're joining us here. And Spa usually has a surprise in store for us in regards to the weather, but not only that, even though at the moment it's still wet, it's supposed to say dry, but who knows, but also a surprise in regards to the outcome, because yesterday's crazy race mixed everything up, because the three top contenders did not do as well as we kind of thought or expected, and that means that this man here, René Rast, is now second in the championship. He's 17 points behind Sheldon van der Linde, same as Mirko Bortolotti, but because he's won one race, that means he's second in the championship, and that also means that in the last 5 races of the DTM season 2022, anything is possible, and it's going to be super exciting. And now it's dribbling just a little bit, so let's see what this qualifying brings. So here we go, here's your commentator, enjoy.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Spa as we get set for another 20-minute qualifying session. My name's Chris Hartley. I'll be talking you through the action. And there you see René Rast, fourth in yesterday's race, moving up to second in the championship, as Verena said. But it is very, very difficult this year for anybody to string any kind of consistent run together. So, for example, the top 5 in the championship, only one of them has had a run of 2 consecutive point-scoring finishes of late. That's the longest point-scoring run. So that is Dennis Olsen had a second at Nürburgring Race 2. He had a win yesterday, but none of them have strung together more than 1 or 2 back-to-back point-scoring finishes of late. So we had yesterday Sheldon van der Linde qualifying way back down and wet and then drying and then wet again conditions during the first qualifying session, so he was with an equal worse starting position of 22nd. The driver that was second in the championship going into yesterday, Mirko Bortolotti, spoke to him after the race yesterday and he said, I tried slick tyres right at the end of the session, took a gamble, and then it started to rain again. That's why he was 20th on the grid, although he did come through and with a late charge, particularly the last 3 or 4 laps and some great moves, came through to pick up a few points for 8th place, for valuable championship points, the first he scored for a while, given he scored none at the Nürburgring, but still was thinking that it's going to be a difficult end to the season. They're struggling a bit for top-end speed in the Lamborghini. Maro Engel was unfortunate yesterday after looked like he was on course for a good top 5 finish, with then contact with Rolf Innerschen, the Swiss driver in the Lamborghini through the chicane, which caused a puncture. There was a puncture for this man as well, Lucas Auer, in the race. He was on fire yesterday, had a very robust start to the race, going side by side through Eau Rouge with Tommy Preining. Tommy then, as 2 didn't fit into 1, a huge moment going up Eau Rouge on lap 1, completely sideways up the corner on the very wet grass, somehow caught and saved it, dropped from the battle for second down to 8th place as he lost speed up the Kemmel Straight, but then recovered and finished 3rd. Lucas Auer was running in a 2nd place for much of the race. They had a problem with the pit stop and have been fined for an unsafe release because there was a problem with the front left. They had to stop him, bring him back up onto the jacks, and then he went out, was running in 2nd place, and then unfortunately got a front left puncture late on in the race. Sheldon van der Linde from 22nd almost got himself into the points. Another couple of laps, I think he would have got into the top 10. He was unfortunate when he lost time coming into the pits for a fairly late mandatory pit stop. Sheldon got stuck behind Maro Engel, who'd been crawling into the pits with his puncture, so it was unfortunate timing for him. That might just have cost him enough time to get into the points, because he was charging through at the end of what was a very lively first race. Came 12th in the end. So the top 3, 2 of them not scoring championship points yesterday. The only one that did was Mirko Bortolotti in 8th place, and that's allowed René Rast to move up in between them as well with that 4th place finish. So there, the championship standings. You can see the bottom right corner of your picture, as Verena said, 110 championship points coming into today's race, as he did coming into yesterday's race for Sheldon van der Linde. He's not lost that much of an advantage. He was 21 points clear at the start of the weekend, and he's now 17 points clear, so it's not a huge loss, even though he didn't score any points yesterday. Bortolotti and Rast on the same points. Rast has had that win, which is why he's second. Bortolotti yet to get a race victory, 4 podiums, but yet to get a race win. And Dennis Olsen shooting up to 4th place in the championship after that terrific maiden victory for both himself and the SSR Performance Squad in yesterday's race, despite a very late charge from the reigning champion Maximilian Gotz, who put the auto hero fastest lap of the race in on the very last lap to close the gap to just 0.8 of a second. And then Thomas Preining coming home to round out the podium for his second podium in DTM 2022. Cars heading out then onto the track. The forecast is that it is dry and going to remain dry for qualifying. Should be a better day, but you just never know. We've had forecasts of rain and it hasn't come. We've had forecasts of it being dry and it has come. So it has its own little microclimate here. But what it is a damp track. We've just had the Max Formula out on track for historic Formula One cars and single-seaters. And they've been going around on wet tyres, but there is a dry line now forming. It's just from the overnight rain and moisture that we've had. So it hasn't rained for a little while this morning, and that track, therefore, as long as the rain holds off, is going to get drier and drier and grippier as the session goes on, and therefore quicker as the session goes on. So we'll see what the drivers do now in terms of their strategy. I wonder if some of them might sit tight and wait for the second half of the session to go out, or is that too much of a risk just in case out of nowhere we get a little shower of rain and it gets wetter again. On board with Felipe Fraga, who finally managed to get his third points finish of the season yesterday. It was a 7th place in the end.
Quite dry, and downhill part not dry, but you have this little line.
Yeah, down through Brussels, a thin line of dry. Everywhere else, left and right, wet. Get on the curbs, slippy. Get on the grass, very, very treacherous if you're on slick tyres and slick Michelin tyres. News to bring you as well in terms of, as we get a replay, of Manuel Reuter having a look at Maro Enkel's car. Team principal at the Grasser Racing Team, former DTM star. News to bring you from yesterday, all relating to track limits. There is David Schumacher. Now, he has got a 12-place grid penalty to be slapped onto him at the end of this. That is because he had 7 track limits offences. So the first 3 you can get away with. If you do a 4th track limits offence during the course of a race, it's a 3-place grid penalty. And for every subsequent one, it's another 3 places. So he was 4 over the limit. So he's got a 12-place grid penalty. But if he qualifies 15th or lower, instead of the grid penalty, he gets a 10-second stop go in the race. And then there are also grid penalties, but less harsh, for Dev Gore and Clement Schmidt. They both had 4 track limits warnings. They exceeded the track limits on 4 times. They had an offence, so they've got 3-place grid penalty. So Dev Gore and Clement Schmidt, 3-place grid penalty, unless they qualify 24th or lower, in which case they too would get a 10-second stop go in the race instead. So there is Eau Rouge, and you can see it's still very, very damp through there, wet almost, because there's still a little bit of spray coming off the tyres here. So I would say that's too treacherous for slick tyres through there for now, even though there are certain parts of the course, including the end of the lap out through the chicane, and certainly on the start-finish straight looking out the window where it's almost dry on the line now. So we'll see how the lap times compare. It's going to be pretty tricky, this. The fastest lap time we've had during the dry free practice 2 session was a 2-minute 17.7 from Thomas Preining. There, the first sector times were 39.2s. Here, we're a couple of seconds behind in the first sector already. A second sector in the dry is 62.1, very quick, and then a 35.9 through the third sector. René Rast is quickest at the moment. Look at the Laurens Vanthoor Porsche twitching and dancing as he struggles to find grip and generate some heat into the tyres. Laurens yesterday, I'm told we didn't really see it in the race itself, but he just clipped the barrier on the way out of his pit stop, and that's caused damage to the car, and that's why he ended up retiring when he had been on course for possible 4th place finish or thereabouts. So we saw it from on board. This is what Laurens Vanthoor's adventure looked like there, just back end stepping out. Front end found grip, back end didn't really find any, and the car dancing, and he just oversteered it to get it through the corner. That's on the way into Pouhon. Remember, it's a downhill run into Pouhon as well, so the back end of the car is pretty light. All these undulation changes and quick changes of direction make life very difficult for the drivers. Well, Felipe Fraga has set the absolute best first sector time so far with a 41.0. But René Rast was only 600 slower in the first sector and has just set the absolute best sector, 69.06. So we're about to see the first competitive lap times of this 20-minute session, but it's surely going to get quicker and quicker and quicker as the session goes on. It's going to be breathless qualifying this. all the championship point contenders will be looking for the points as well, with 3 points for pole, 2 for second, 1 for third. Vantour puts in a good time of 2:29.7 in the conditions, 2:28.8 though for his teammate, yesterday's winner Dennis Olsen, but times are going to get quicker. What can René Rast do? He'll be coming up to the line very shortly. There he comes in the red and white Audi, charging out now, out towards the line. Is this going to be provisionally fastest? No, second place for now for René Rast behind Olsen, but only just 75 thousandths of a second behind. And Nick Cassidy, look, with the absolute best first sector time of 40.85 seconds. You're on board with his teammate Felipe Fraga, as Lucas Stoltz goes third quickest in the HRT Mercedes. So it's Olsen, Rast, Stoltz, Vantour, Auer and Buch currently the top 6 in the very early stages of the session. Tommy Preining's had a good first sector. Felipe Fraga is going to be in the mix with this lap for now. Where will this post him? 11th, actually lost some time there towards the end, so 2:33.2. Nick Cassidy's lap, it looks like it's going to be significantly better when he gets through the chicane shortly. Kelvin van der Linde goes third with his first real attempt. Arjun Maini is up there as well in 4th place. Clement Schmidt, who was one of the drivers that's just gambled on wet tyres at the end of the race yesterday, but it didn't pay off and he had to park the car in the end because the rain wasn't really strong enough. He's going well inside the top 10. Here comes Nick Cassidy then, and this is going to post him, I would have thought, top 3, maybe even to the top of the times if he's had a good run through the last sector. It is top of the times because he puts the absolute best final sector time in to go quickest of all for now. So the Ferrari on pole position provisionally. Still 13 minutes, 18 seconds to go though. Olsen is second, Rast is third, van der Linde, Kelvin van der Linde 4th, Arjun Maini 5th, and then Lucas Stoltz in 6th place. Laurens Vantour 40.95, Dennis Olsen, his teammate, 40.99. Hardly anything between the two of them. Olsen in the 94 car is much quicker through the second sector then. So Laurens Vantour has backed off and Olsen passes his teammate now. So remember, he'll carry 25 kilograms of success ballast into the second race as yesterday's race winner, but he doesn't have to carry the ballast into this qualifying session. It's a fairly nonplussed day for this man, Ricardo Fellet, yesterday, but we know what he's capable of. Already a race winner, one of the 9 different race winners that we've had so far this season. Right, Thomas Preining, we haven't seen a lap from him yet, but he's just done the absolute best first sector of the session. 40.820 seconds. So Preining is one to watch. He might be 26th at the moment, but he's not going to stay there for long. He's about to climb way up the order, I suspect. So Preining, who qualified second yesterday, was on provisional pole for much of the session. He's been on the front row of the grid this season a couple of times, but hasn't quite got the pole position yet. Can he do it here? For now, it's a Ferrari on provisional pole, with Nick Cassidy there at the top of the times. And look, slick tyres are being readied. It's getting to the stage where they might cross over from the wets to the dries now. That's the feedback that's coming. It's going to be a quick turnaround. You're not going to have cars sat in the pit lane discussing setup for 4 or 5 minutes in the middle of the session. It'll be slick tyres on. Get out there as quick as you can, I suspect. René Rast is in the pits at the moment. He's third quickest. Lucas Stoltz is 7th. Lucas Auer is 9th. They've all come into the pits at Arjun Maini likewise as well. Kelvin van der Linde's also in a good first sector, and Laurens Vantour backed off on the previous lap, now does the absolute best first sector, 300ths quicker than Thomas Preining. Preining with a decent middle sector as well. It's not his best, but it's not far away this. So Preining, if he completes the lap, he's going to absolutely charge up the order. He should be around about 22 seconds away from the line. Cassidy and Olsen, Ferrari and Porsche the top 2 at the moment. Audi, Rast in 3rd, Audi, Muller up to 4th place. And Laurens Vantour on a real charging lap here, looking for his first pole position. Had his best qualifying of the season yesterday with 5th. Previous best was a 9th. Here comes Tommy Preining then. This is going to rocket him up somewhere near the top of the times. Let's have a look as he crosses the line. Where will it put him? 4th quickest, 2 minutes 29.29 for the driver that finished on the podium yesterday and had the save of the century going up Eau Rouge. So it is now Cassidy from Olsen, Rast 3rd, Preining 4th, Muller down to 5th. Van der Linde, Maini and Stoltz 6th, 7th and 8th. Laurens Vantour is 9th, but I don't think he's going to be 9th for long because he's on a real charge here with the absolute best first sector time in the number 92 Porsche. His teammate Dennis Olsen currently is on the front row of the grid, but he's not on a stellar lap here. Vantour is the one to watch. 69.95, pretty good. You suspect whoever's on provisional pole halfway through this session is not going to be there necessarily at the end, though, because times are going to completely change. Sheldon van der Linde's car is up on the jacks. He's 23rd at the moment, but he's waiting to get out there on slick tyres. We haven't really seen a proper lap yet from either Ricardo Feller or David Schumacher. Right, here comes Laurens van Teur, and this is going to post him up the order. Is he going to be good enough for a front row, maybe even provisional pole position? He goes through. No, not quite. 5th place, 2 minutes 29.35 seconds. He was only 65 thousandths of a second behind Tommy Preining. So Cassidy, 2:28.4, is nearly 4 tenths quicker than anybody so far. Dennis Olsen with a 2:28.829. He's only 75 thousandths quicker than Rast in third, who's done a 2:28.9 as well. And then 2:29.2 for Preining in fourth, 2:29.3 for Van Teur in fifth, and a 2:29.3 as well, just 35 thousandths of a second slower for Nico Muller, who rounds out the top 6. He's had 2 top 6 finishes in the last 2 races, Nico Muller, in the Audi. So the Team Rosberg driver finding a bit of consistency of late, but could do with a couple of big point scorers, a win, a second, something like that to get him right up the order. Right, Michael Grenier has had 2-point scoring finishes so far this season. We are watching one of the few cars that's on a lap, because most of them are either in the pits or just on an out lap now, heading presumably back out on slick tyres, because it is pretty dry there coming out of the chicane.
No, slick is not an option. Slick is not an option.
Should we go for slicks? No, that's not an option yet, is the replay of the radio to Laurens van Teur.
I would wait a bit, mate. It's getting dry very quickly now. How many minutes left?
Right, the feedback from Sheldon van der Linde is let's wait a bit. And he was up in the pit lane on the jacks for a while. Let's wait. He's drying quickly. Let's get out there on slick. So I think Sheldon has gone out on slick tyres now. He needs this to work for him. It's a really critical 8 minutes for Sheldon van der Linde, the championship leader. He can't afford to qualify 22nd again, yes, like he did yesterday. At the moment, he's worse off. He's 25th. But it's so easy to get it wrong here. You just stray ever so slightly off that dry line and you're in trouble on the slick tyres. It's going to take a little while to get them up to temperature as well. There's Esteban Moot, looking for his first points finish of the season in the pits. He's currently 15th there. Wet tyres coming off. Wet tyres coming off Marco Wittmann as well. A bit of tweak to the setup. Right, Ricardo Feller, who has pretty much waited to get going, has started to get going now and has done a 41.72 as a personal best first sector time. So he's looking to improve from what at the moment is 20th place for the Abt Sportsline Audi, and does the absolute best middle sector. So this, presumably on the slick tyres now, is starting to come towards them. It's going to be a frantic 7 minutes. Buckle up, everybody. So 68.82. That's a significant improvement in that long middle sector, which takes you all the way from the end of the Kemmel Straight all the way to Stavelot. The last run, the last sector, which is still wet under the trees, look, takes you out through Blanchimont and then Paul Frère, then Blanchimont, then into this bus stop chicane. This is where it starts to dry up a little bit more. But the back of the circuit is still tricky. But it's going to get drier and drier. More cars get out there, the more they'll mop the surface water up. And Feller goes quickest. Right, so everybody's now going to go slicks, 2:27.19. And that's 1.2 seconds quicker. Goes wide, still going into the La Source hairpin as he struggles to get the car turned in. He just wants to understeer. You have to turn the steering wheel in early, as we see a big twitch here from Tommy Preining, and he goes off the road. And that's something I think we're going to see quite a lot of over the next few minutes. You've got to push it to the limits to be up there, but if you just stray ever so slightly off the limit, it's going to kill your lap. So, at the moment, Feller on provisional pole. Cassidy from the earlier lap time still second. Dennis Olsen, yesterday's winner, is in the pits currently. He's third. Rast is back out fourth. Preining is on an out lap, but had that moment that we just saw in fifth. And Van Teur is in the pits as well in sixth place. So the two SSR performance cars in the pits, but with slick tyres now being bolted on. Lap deleted for Tommy Preining for track limits. That's because he went over the sensors, but it wasn't going to be a good lap anyway, was it? Because he was so far wide. Right, we've started to see some green sector times now, and Ricardo Feller's going quicker again. He was through the first sector, but he's got off the road in the middle of the lap as well. Through Le Combe, that was looks like. So, despite the good first sector, that's not worked out for him. And he'll have to go again. But of course, you don't get as many laps as you would in a normal qualifying session because it's such a long lap here. So you can't afford to make more than one or two mistakes. All right, Maximilian Götz is having a fine run. He's the one consistent driver. He's up to 10th in the championship now. He's had 6 back-to-back point-scoring finishes. And that first podium yesterday, the reigning champion, and his first foray on these tyres goes into 12th place. Sheldon van der Linde does a personal best, but it's quite a bit off the pace, 41.9. He wants to be about low 41s if he can, 41.08 for Ricardo Feller, but he lost all that time in the middle sector when we saw him going off the road. We're on board with Sheldon van der Linde, just trying to work out where the grip is. He'll stay out now to the end of the session. The car will get lighter of fuel. The tyres won't get overly worn because they're not being pushed as much as they would be in super dry conditions. So Sheldon van der Linde, this isn't the lap that's going to fire him right up the order. Although David Schumacher has just put in a decent lap to go 11th. Just missed out on his first point-scoring finish yesterday. Drove well, 11th place, still his personal best. He's 11th, but he's got this grid penalty, remember, of 12 places. Or, if he qualifies 15th or lower, a 10-second stop-go during the race. Defgor and Clement Schmidt with 3 place grid penalties to be applied for their track limits offences yesterday as well. And Dennis Olsen has gone back out, but Laurent Vanteur is still in the pits. He's the last one in the pits. He might be the last one to cross the line. Needs to get a move on, though, with less than 4 minutes to go. Time beginning to run out. He's currently in 6th, but he'll plummet down the order as they all start to get quicker and quicker and quicker. So Sheldon van der Linde, 15th. It's this lap, though, and the next that's really going to count. Vanteur cool, calm, collected, just bides his time, just waits. But remember, it's going to take him 2.5 minutes to get around to the start line just to start a lap. So he's only going to get one flying lap at this, one chance. Waiting for them all to dry the circuit up. Mario Sugg going second quickest in the Attempto Racing Audi. So the 19-year-old, 2:28.021, within 0.8 of a second of Ricardo Feller's time. We've had an absolute best middle sector for Kelvin van der Linde, though. Kelvin, the next one to watch. Ricardo Feller going well through the first sector, goes into the 40.6s. And then we've got Kelvin van der Linde coming towards the end of the lap very shortly. The number 3 Abt Sportsline Audi looks like it could potentially be about to go onto provisional pole position. Here he comes out of the chicane. Kelvin van der Linde gets on the gas, sprints for the line. Where's this going to put him when he comes through? It's to the top of the times. Van der Linde fastest. It's an Abt Sportsline 1-2. 2:26.6 now, but this isn't over. 2 minutes 41 seconds to go. Lucas Auer puts the absolute best middle sector in. So he's the next one potentially that's going to be there, but Götz is there for now with a 2:26.35. And it's going to change almost every time a top driver comes over the line. This Ricardo Feller, absolute best middle sector as well. So Lucas Auer, the next one to watch, just gets slightly distracted there by the Lamborghini of Clement Schmidt, gets on the gas, accelerates for the line. Is this provisional pole for Lucas? Yes, it is. 2:26.55. Will it last? Probably not, because Ricardo Feller is on his way to the line shortly in about 10 seconds' time. Here he comes with just over 2 minutes left on the clock. Ricardo Feller on the way into the bus stop chicane, just about gets the car turned in. Desperate to get on the power as quickly as he can to sprint for the line. He's trying to beat 2:26.055. Can he do it? Yes, easily. 2:24.86. That's the new provisional pole time. Ricardo Feller, 1.1 seconds quicker. Laurens Vanteur's gone out now, so he's going to get one lap at this, Laurens. He's down to 12th place. He needs to be on track. Sheldon van der Linde, the championship leader, is 17th, but on a personal best lap here. It's going to be a pretty good one, and it's going to be a really good one. It's second place with the absolute best final sector. He's got one more lap as well to get in here. So Sheldon van der Linde charges up the order to second. It's Ricardo Feller first, Sheldon van der Linde second, Lucas Auer third, Maximilian Götz in fourth, Kelvin van der Linde in fifth, and Nick Cassidy still somehow there in 6th place. Muller 7th, Rast 8th, Schumacher 9th, and Zug, a fine effort so far, in 10th place. Felipe Fraga, Maro Engel, Michael Grenier, all at personal best first and second sector times, looking to improve here as well. You're on board with Felipe Fraga. Had a spin coming out of this corner at the end of qualifying 1 yesterday. It's all good now, though, and he'll get another lap at the end of this with still time left on the clock. It's 3rd place for the Ferrari driver. So the Red Bull AF Corsa up to 3rd place now. Maro Engel goes 7th as he crosses the line. And look at the graphic to the right of your picture. Lucas Auer, purple, Sector 1, absolute best in Sector 1. René Rast was 3/10 behind in Sector 1, but has done the absolute best middle sector. There's 30 seconds left on the clock. Bortolotti goes through the line and puts himself up to where Bortolotti, 20th, he drops down. We've got Fella fastest, Van der Linde, and then Grenier now in third place. And Maxi Gotts on the charge as well. René Rast is the next one to watch. Absolute best middle sector. Lucas Auer overall is slightly quicker than him though, and should just, or will he squeeze another one in? Probably not. Time 4 seconds left on the clock. Rast goes through, he's going to get one more lap in, and he's gone quickest. So the time runs out, Rast goes through, and Preining, I think, just snuck through as well. They're going to be the last two to take the checkered flag, and that could be critical as Muller goes into third place now. Here's Arjun Maini going over the line. Lucas Auer right behind him goes second, but that's his final lap because the flag is already out. So second for Auer, Rast is first, and there's one more lap. Here is Ricardo Fella, who's slipped down to third place now. 0.4 of a second in drift. He absolutely throws it over the curbs here. A desperate lunge. Can he get himself onto provisional pole here in these closing, dying moments of the session? Fella comes through. Yes, he can. 2 minutes 24.16 seconds. Fantastic qualifying. Michael Grenier still on a lap, has done the absolute best first sector. Sheldon van der Linde is almost home and dry, 6th at the moment. Can he improve upon that in the BMW? The Schubert driver over the line now, goes quickest, 2 minutes 23.46 seconds. Provisional pole, 22nd yesterday, but he's right at the top of the board for now. Vantour, though, with his one charging lap, he's on a good one here, 40.45, 67.89. This could challenge for provisional pole. You've got Grenier and Fraga and Rast still out there as well. And they've all had very good first sectors, especially Grenier. So Laurens Vantour is coming home. He's got Fraga right in his tail, actually. These two could pop up there. It's Sheldon van der Linde they're trying to beat, who's done a 2:23.468. And look, the Ferrari quicker than the Porsche going through the chicane. They get on the gas. It's almost like a race finish, this, as they head for the line. Checkered flag comes out. Where do they end up? Fraga comes home in 5th place. And Laurens Vantour goes over the line, with Maro Engel going second quickest. No improvement really for Vantour. He's out of the top 10, but Michael Grenier could do something special here in the Mercedes. So too could René Rast. The checkered flag awaits. Is Grenier going to do it? No, but he's on the front row of the grid. He goes second quickest. Rast, and Preining possibly wants to watch. Rast especially, who's almost the last one over the line. He's had an absolute best middle sector, and at the moment René Rast is on course potentially for provisional pole position here. We wait for him to arrive. Cassidy goes second in the Ferrari ahead of Grenier, so he goes onto the front row of the grid. But here's René Rast. Can he do it? Of course he can. He's a 3-time champion, and René Rast, with the very last throw of the dice, goes through to fastest and takes pole position with a 2:23.424 second lap, which is 44 thousandths of a second quicker than Sheldon van der Linde. About 15 different drivers that were on provisional pole at one point or another in that session, but it was all about timing. Who could be last over the line? And it was Rast and Preining that were the last two to get through, and Rast gets it. What a session. I tell you what, you never get a dull qualifying or race where it's changeable track conditions, where it goes wet to dry or dry to wet, and that's exactly what we got. Fantastic 20 minutes. René Rast, pole position, 2 minutes 23.424 seconds. Probably the coolest man on the track. Everybody else on tenterhooks. That last chance, he shot up from, where was he, back into the top 10 before that lap, because they all kept coming past him as everybody crossed the line and the track dried and dried and dried. But René Rast with a superb performance there to get pole position. Sheldon van der Linde will be delighted though with second place. So second in the championship on pole, first in the championship, second. We're in for a treat this afternoon, everybody. Nick Cassidy with his best qualifying in DTM so far, third. Michael Grenier, excellent as well in 4th place. Maro Engel's been quick this weekend. He'll start 5th. Maximilian Gotts's much improved form continues. He's 6th. Ricardo Fella, I think, will probably be slightly disappointed with 7th because he was on provisional pole 2 or 3 times in that session. Thomas Preining in 8th. Clement Schmidt, an excellent 9th. Lucas Auer dropped from 2nd to 10th during that final minute of the session. Kelvin van der Linde dropped out of the top 10. So did Felipe Fraga. They'll start 11th and 12th. Wittmann 13th. Eng 14th. Stoltz 15th. Marius Zug 16th. Nico Muller, he was up there in the top 6 for much of the session, but 17th in the end. Arjun Maini 18th. Maximilian Buch 19th. Laurens Vantour probably left it too late. Had that one run, but he had one lap and he didn't hug it together, so he ends up 20th. With Moot 21st, Bortolotti 22nd, Olsen 23rd, yesterday's winner, Devgore 24th, and a grid penalty. Schumacher 25th and a grid penalty in Aishen and Delayder 26th and 27th. So Nick Cassidy, third place, 52 thousandths of a second cover the top three. Nick was only 8 thousandths of a second behind Sheldon van der Linde, who qualifies on the front row of the grid. Once again, the championship leader. And for Sheldon, that is going to be his 5th front row start of the season. And then René Rast taking it right at the death. A fantastic drive to pick up his 2nd pole position of the season, his 1st pole position since the 3rd weekend of the season when we were at Imola. Very, very different conditions. So a real thrill ride around this wonderful, challenging 7.004 kilometre long circuit. And a René Rast delivering and showing just why he's so highly rated, why he's a 3-time Porsche Super Cup champion, why he's a 3-time DTM champion. And here he comes, René Rast. And I think that will go down as one of his favourite pole positions, because that took utter concentration, perfect timing from him and from the team as well. And it has delivered his 22nd career pole position in the DTM. And for Nick Cassidy, fantastic effort as well, 3rd place. He was up there on provisional pole when they were going around on wets at the start of the session, but he'll be very happy, I think, with 3rd place. So what a session that was. Let's get some reaction down in the pit lane now then with Verena.
Yeah, what a qualifying, and I've got the man here. He'll be starting in P2 later on in the race, Sheldon van der Linde. Yesterday was a crazy day, only 12th place, but today we're starting in P2. I mean, you can really pick up the speed and pick up more points.
Yeah, I mean, René just got me at the last minute there, which is a bit annoying, to be honest. I think I was on P1 until the last second or whatever. But still, nevertheless, very happy, especially starting 22nd yesterday and now on P2. Obviously, it's exactly what we needed for the championship as well. We knew we needed to start up front today, and that's exactly what we did. So, yeah, very happy with that. Obviously, a long race ahead. Hopefully, the clouds stay away today, so I can just have a full dry race and just focus on getting points. But yeah, very happy as well. I got René right in front of me, which is obviously right behind me in the championship, so I really got my work cut out today. He looks very happy as well, so I need to change that later.
All right, we'll see. Thank you, Sheldon. Here's your commentator.
Thanks very much indeed. Remember, 3 points for pole position as well for René Rast, 2 points for Sheldon van der Linde, his 1st points of the weekend for 2nd place, and a point for Nick Cassidy as well. So now Sheldon is on 112 points, René is on 96, and the gap at the top of the championship table is down to just 16 points. Mirko Bortolotti, 3rd on his own now on 93 points. Dennis Olsen, who is way down the order, 4th on 87 points, with Lucas Auer and Nico Muller 5th and 6th. That's it from the commentary box. Let's head back now to the pit lane and to Verena.
Wow, what a qualifying, and now we really are looking forward to the race later on, because surely it's going to be a very tight battle between René and Sheldon. It's going to be super tight and super exciting, so you don't want to miss that, that's for sure. So see you later on in the race. Bye-bye.
This is